we've got... it's time for some Blizzard news, Jeff.
Oh, it's been a minute.
Are you ready for some Blizzard news? It's not good Blizzard news.
Oh, boy.
But there never really does seem to be any good Blizzard news pieces coming out as of late. So, Jason Schreier again, and I'll keep pronouncing his name probably wrong for the rest of my life because I can't figure it out if it's Schreier or Schreier. So I'll just go with Schreier. He's on to bigger and better things now, Jeff. He moved from Kotaku, as we talked about. He's on Bloomberg now. He's on the Bloomberg's, running Bloomberg's gaming side. And so this is like, to my knowledge, one of his first real major pieces for Bloomberg. And he went in because apparently Blizzard staff, this is via his Twitter, Blizzard staff put together an anonymous spreadsheet on Friday. This was, he was posting this on the 3rd, so it was just about within the week. To compare salaries and pay raises as part of an open revolt against low compensation within the company.
Okay.
So while CEO Bobby Kotick is making $40 million a year, regardless of the company's performance, which we talked about I think 2 or 3 weeks ago on the podcast, is that regardless of the company's performance being good or bad, he's still getting big-ass performance bonuses, even if the company's sucking a dick, like it does, even if they're not meeting targets, and so it doesn't seem to make a difference. So while he's making $40 million a year, apparently some Blizzard employees can't even make ends meet because they're not getting paid enough money. So this goes on. This is an anonymous document, so everyone put their stuff in because obviously they don't want to get fucking destroyed by the company. So they all put in the anonymous document, and it was reviewed by Bloomberg News. Contains dozens of employees' salaries and pay bumps that were handed out during a compensation study done at Blizzard last year. Most of the raises are below 10%, which is significantly less than Blizzard employees said they expected. And Blizzard has long had a reputation of underpaying its workers, although some senior staff can make well over $100K a year. Members of other departments have struggled. Which is also why much of Blizzard staff has in the past left for neighboring companies in Riot, Amazon, game studios, and tech companies for much bigger pay raises. So this just seems to be an issue where Blizzard is top loading most of its profits to people on the upside, and most of the people in the trenches are getting paid as little as possible to keep them in their positions, because they want to work at Blizzard, and I feel like this is what's happening. Blizzard as a company is such a brand that many of these people at this point in time would have grew up with, got into the industry because of Blizzard, wanted to work and be part of Blizzard, gets hired by Blizzard probably towards the tail end of the golden era of Blizzard.
And has their dreams crushed.
And now just gets fucking crushed.
It's like meeting your childhood hero and realizing he's a dick.
Yeah, exactly. And so now they're here, and they're so attached to the company that people's first reactions would be, and unreasonably so, would be, if you're not getting paid enough, apply to some different places, work somewhere else. But for a lot of people, Blizzard is the reason they got into the industry. They get the job there. They want to fight for their position there. They want to be there, and maybe they're thinking if they weather the storm, eventually stuff gets better. So, in 2018, so this is a little snippet of it, and then we'll talk a bit about whatever our thoughts are on this. In 2018, messages on the internal Blizzard communication channels reviewed by Bloomberg News, employees talked about money-saving measures that they've taken to remain with the company. One employee wrote that they had to skip meals to pay rent, and that they used the company's free coffee as an appetite suppressant. Another said that they would only eat oatmeal and bail on team lunches because they couldn't afford to buy food at the company cafeteria. A third said that their partner stopped talking about having kids because they knew they wouldn't be able to afford it. That contrasted with pictures they saw of more senior Blizzard employees enjoying vacations to Disneyland with their families. So there is obviously a massive disparity between levels within Blizzard, and that happens in pretty much most companies, honestly, but some companies are worse than others. Some companies really shit on the core of the company and move everything to the top. Others are still a disparity, but it's not as bad. when you start talking about skipping lunches and drinking the free coffee or eating oatmeal because you can't afford the fucking cafeteria food in the company's headquarters you work at with the salary they're paying you, that is a new level of fucking weird. Like if as a company you're providing a cafeteria for people to have lunches, but you can't pay them enough to afford the lunches at your own fucking company's cafeteria, that's just fucking weird. That's weird. How can you even do that shit? It's crazy. So, while I'm not shocked, and while obviously this isn't a thing at Blizzard just now, this is apparently been a thing for quite some time, even during what we would have probably considered the golden years of Blizzard, to a degree, this would have been happening, especially in the past 2005 era, maybe 2008 and later. What is your take on this situation? Because it's not unique, obviously. It's not even unique within the industry. This industry, it's actually pretty rampant. But what's your take on a company where the CEO is taking home performance bonuses even when they're not meeting targets, and their employees can't even afford the food at their own fucking cafeteria?
Well, I mean, I'll be the bad guy.
Devil advocate, do it.
Well, it's what I believe. I'm not even just saying this to say this, but
it's by nature will be devil's advocate to most people.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start. Here's okay. I'll start.
I think you'll be surprised that I'll probably end up agreeing with a lot of what you're about to say.
I'll start with the crazy amounts of bonuses that higher ups are getting. It doesn't matter how well it performs. That right there that's corporate. That is just guys and gals out there listening. As much as it doesn't seem fair, that is just the way it works. For the vast majority of big corporations like this, there are some that reward their employees immensely. And it's usually ran by leaders that aren't, that realize that what they have is enough. And for them, instead of getting a $40 million a year paycheck, maybe they get $20 million and they allocate a bunch of that money out to the hardworking individuals that allow them to receive those paychecks. It's rare, but it does happen. There are people. I believe that a guy like Adam would be one of those guys. Would be like, dude, I don't need $40 million a year, especially if we haven't performed all that well. There's nothing wrong with making $40 million a year. If you bring that value to the company, then by all means, get what you're worth. I've talked about that on the podcast before. I mean, it's your economic value. It's like, hey, if you're a professional athlete and you bring $100 million into a team, and you're, say, an NBA player, and they're going to pay you $40 million a season, you deserve that because you bring $100 million in revenue, right? You're not going to pay somebody. It's like what Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen got fucked. The amount of money that man brought in, but he signed a bad deal and he got fucked for it. And the people up top took that money and put it in their own pockets. So you get what you're worth, right? And that's why Michael Jordan was signing 1-year deals going, guys, y'all are going to fucking pay me what I'm worth. You're not going to rip me off. So it's the same thing where, Bobby Kotick, for example, if the company feels as a whole that he's worth whatever and he brings value to the company and the shareholders are making their money and everybody's fucking happy, then by all means, I guess it is what it is. So, yeah, you know what? It kind of sucks seeing the guys up at the top reap all the benefits while the hard workers, the grunts, are in there in the trenches filling the pockets of Bobby Kotick. I get that. I get that argument. But here's my other argument. to the one that is complaining about, am I supposed to feel bad about a guy at his workplace making a comment that, well, I was so excited to start a family, but now I don't talk about it anymore because I don't get paid enough. I'm not going to feel, I'm sorry, but that sounds like a you problem. That doesn't sound like a Blizzard problem. That doesn't sound like a Bobby Kotick problem. That sounds like a you problem. Because let's be real. Most people, you get what you put in. And if you want to make that extra money and your employer doesn't pay you what you desire to be paid to have the lifestyle that you want to have, you need to get out there and hustle. You need to get a side gig. You need to try and find a better employer, or you need to suck it up, develop a skill to make it so that you are quite literally not one of 1,000 developers that work for this company, but you're one of a kind type of developer. Somebody that somebody needs that you can only do, or a select few people can only do to get the money that you want. And if that isn't possible, then you probably should have thought twice about the industry that you went into to go and make a career in. Teachers do not sign up to be a teacher because they want to get rich. Teachers become teachers because they want to help people. It's their calling. They enjoy it. They want to help and watch people grow and have an impact and an influence in someone's life. Teachers are ridiculously underpaid by and I think that's universally known. They just are. But if teachers go, well, I am really pissed off that the owners of these universities or of these whatever, the cities, the people, whoever's running these things are making infinitely more money than me, and I just can't even talk about having children now because I don't get paid enough as a teacher, then maybe you should have thought about that before you became a teacher. And if you still want to become a teacher, maybe you need to do something else on the side to up your income so that you can have the lifestyle that you want to have. So I understand their frustration. I get it. I really do. But at the same time, nobody owes you anything in life. And I will never back down on this on this statement. If you want to have a better financial life and you don't want to be on the backs of these big corporations that use you as a number, then you really have to stand out and develop a skill or have a side hustle or accept that this is your cap at this level and at this job title. This is your cap. So instead of bitching and complaining about it, do something about it. If you're going to live in California where your housing is taking up 50, 60% of your income,
more like 80.
Only making so 80% of your income. Do you see what I'm saying? It's also lifestyle. Some of these same people that are complaining, are probably out there driving fucking Teslas and got $600 a month car payments and blah, 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 and buying shit that they probably shouldn't buy. I'm not saying that for everybody, but the reality is, and there are exceptions, trust me, I fully agree with the fact that they are being underpaid, and I am not disputing that. What I'm saying is, it is not Blizzard's or Activision's duty to pay you more. If people are willing to accept what it is that they're paying everybody. So, yes, on one hand, I feel bad. I wish they were getting paid what they do deserve. But at the same time, what are you doing about it? Why, if you want to make $100,000 a year or $150,000 or whatever, because I don't know the exact amounts, but whatever it is, if you want to make six figures, maybe you should have thought about that before becoming a game developer, and one that is okay with just staying at their level. You have to specialize. You have to bring value to the company, or you need to go out there and find a company that is going to appreciate your talent and pay you accordingly. If not, you need to buckle up and put in the work. That's how I feel. I'm going to be honest, bro. I hate articles like this because it panders to people that relate to not being paid enough in their everyday life. And it's pegged towards to hate the uber rich. And it's pegged towards hating successful people and the practices that they do. And the reality is most people, if they put the work in and the time, and instead of making excuses for everybody else holding them back, and they would just work that much harder or navigate the waters a little bit better, or think about what it is that they want to do and what they want to make and set goals, you wouldn't. This, I look at this and I go, it's the same thing as fucking what's his face from Amazon, fucking Bezos, where I see people go, oh, Bezos just spent $1 bagillion on a house, and it's like us spending $4. Fuck that guy. If only he would have just spent this amount of money on feeding America, we'd have no problem. We'd have no poverty. So they're shifting one man's success, right? And they're taking it out on, it's socialism, dude. And I'm not a socialist guy. I fully believe in you get what you put in. It's just that's the way I look on life. Not everybody agrees with me. Everybody feels as though everybody should have certain necessities made. Certain people shouldn't make more than certain people if you're in the same field. Some people just believe that. And the vast majority of people that believe that aren't people that are in a position of large success in terms of their their career or financial, or the way that they look at the world as if I'm trying to make this say this in a way that it makes sense, because I'm not hating on people that feel that way. They have a good heart. I really believe I'm that way. I wish everybody could live and have the things that they want and be able to have children without any problems, without any worries. I waited till I was 32 years old before I had a kid because I was worried financially. That was a sacrifice I made. Some people don't give a fuck. They'll just have a kid, or they'll and then they'll complain about their situation because they weren't ready for when it happened. It's about planning. It's about doing things and knowing your situation. So yeah, I feel bad, but at the same time, bro, you're in the gaming industry, and the next line of people that want to go into gaming and want to be developers, and they're still joining, and in 10 years from now, they're going to complain again. We're seeing all of it. We all know how people get treated in this industry. So you knew what you're signing up to. So if you're not prepared for it, then why are you signing up for this? Because you love it? Dude, there's tons of things that I love. I'm sure there's tons of people that watching this podcast right now that love surfing. And they'd love to surf for a living. There's tons of people that love to play video games would love to play video games for a living. The reality is, not everybody can do it. And not everybody's going to be successful. And some people are going to get fucked. And some people at the top are given more and more chances and given more and more promotion and plugs, while the other ones on the bottom get fucked. Welcome to the real world. It's like that in every single industry. And that's my take on it. And I know it's a bit of a hot take and a rant, but it's how I feel. It's how I've always felt. You get what you put in.
Yeah, so, I mean, the majority of what I would agree with for the things that you said there revolve around people navigating the reality of these situations. In terms of, like, let's say, like, there are enough places in this industry for your average developer or programmer or art person to, while being in a job already, especially at a place like Blizzard with pedigree, to put in applications somewhere else and probably instantly make $15,000 to $20,000 more a year going somewhere else, to Amazon Games or to fucking, like, Electronic Arts or whatever, whenever. So I do agree with that part, that probably because of the realities of what I would, and I don't even know if this would be proper use of it, but this is how I would describe it, would be called maximalist capitalism, where the people putting the cogs in place to make the capitalist machine run are maximalists.
Yeah, it's a little bit of greed, and it's a little bit of greed.
It's not a little bit of greed. It's actually just it's like 80% of your income going to your shit in California for a living, in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's mostly greed. There's a reality to that. People are inherently out to serve themselves.
Yep.
And you could have an entire socio-fucking-economic discussion about that, or a philosophical discussion about it, or a sociology discussion about, like, you could have like a million discussions as to why. You could have an evolutionary discussion as to why people are inherently greedy, and you could have another discussion as to why the people at the top tend to be the greediest before they even get to that point. And
to the top.
And a lot of it is that, and this is another reality of it, is that as tropey as it sounds, a lot of the time the people that make it all the way to the top, and the ones that you're seeing make the most, making all the money that people tend to complain the most about anyway, are those that they lack a lot of compassion for the people that they hired and used to get themselves to where they went to. Yeah. And so they don't, like, somebody like myself couldn't be a Jeff Bezos because I don't have the lack of morality to get to Jeff Bezos' position. I just don't. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that the majority of my employees that make this whole fucking thing go are working 12+ hour days on barely minimum wage with almost no real benefits, to being told not to go to the fucking washroom to take a piss or a shit, to make almost nothing, so that I can go and make and during a pandemic increase not cash asset, but assets in the company and everything, $50 billion fucking dollars during the pandemic. While the people that are working at his company to give him that value to his company that his shares are worth, to increase his overall net value to $170 billion, are the ones that, now that rent blockages in the States are up and over, now don't have the money to pay rent because of the situation, while he continues to inflate his value by billions of dollars during a massive global pandemic. That type of human mentality to be able to get there is not unique, and why you see people that are often the most wealthy running corporations, that type of person. You have to have something off in your head to step over top of people. If you went to business school, you start it in university. You get trained in university that if you're going to climb the corporate ladder, especially in management, you need to play alpha at all times. And you need to put your foot firmly on the head of whoever you think is also in the rat race with you, to push them down so that you can raise an arm to grab the lower rung of that ladder and climb that next 5-foot piece of the ladder and find the next person to put your foot on top of their head and push them down to grab the next rung of the ladder. They teach you that shit in university because That's the type of people that you're going to run up against. It's office politics. It's why I got the fuck out the game. I spent $20,000+ on an education and graduated with fucking honors, and I'm sitting in my mom's fucking basement right now because I didn't want to be that guy. I couldn't be that guy. I would hate myself. Could I have done it? Yes. Because blowing smoke up my own ass, I was better, literally, on paper, than 98% of the people in the fucking game. And I'm a tall, attractive white dude. I was literally the fucking mold by God to run and be a Jeff Bezos. I still have hair left. That motherfucker's been bald for years. I was the prototype. I was the fucking one. And I got the fuck out the game for that reason. Because I can't do it. But that's the type of person that is required. You want to know why Bobby Kotick looks like he's somebody that you want to punch in the throat just by seeing a picture? Because that's who he is! He's an asshole! He's a rich fucking asshole, and not because he's rich, but he is largely rich because he's an asshole. There is a correlation there that you could fucking mathematically show as to why people in these positions are often like that. There are some that don't end up that way. Bill Gates would be one of them. That motherfucker's literally single-handedly solving some of the biggest problems in fucking Africa because he can. Bitch retired, he's got billions of dollars that he can generate billions more because that's how money works. The more money you have, the more you can make doing less and less work over time so that he can devote so much of his life to solving major problems. You want to know when Jeff Bezos is going to start doing that shit? Never. You're not going to see it happen. It's not in him. It's just not in him. He would have already started now and been on that fucking track. But unless he has a coming to Jesus moment, which is the closest coming to Jesus moment Jeff Bezos has had, was when his wife fucking wanted to divorce him and he was watching the dollars leave the fucking door. That's the closest coming to Jesus moment that motherfucker's ever had. And you see, you have to look at it in that when the way, and I don't agree with everything Jeff said, but the thing I do agree with it is that it is a reality. People are fucking asshats. We're watching it all the time right now. It doesn't change further up the fucking ladder. You would think that the people further up you go, the more intelligence they have, whatever it is to get them there, would make them more they'd have greater morals, they'd have greater purpose, they would be, because theoretically, if you're like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they've blown out of the fucking pyramid fucking like 20 years ago. They're in a different stratosphere. They're not even in about self-actualization anymore. They've got so much money that it doesn't matter. Maslow's hierarchy doesn't exist to them anymore. And so you have to operate as a regular individual going amongst the world, trying to cut your little piece out of the fucking economic pie, whatever you want to do, whatever it is, whatever goals you have financially set. You have to know that you are playing the same game, and you have to understand that that's what you're up against. Instead of going out into the world in a tribalistic society where if you went outside of your fucking tribe's land and you step foot in the wrong place, you get an axe in the back of the fucking head. And that's the reality of that situation, and you only have the resources in your little chunk of land. You get into an office as a woman, and you're going to have every fucking self-esteem lacking small dick Chad work your ass out the fucking office and try and push you out, whether or not you're better or not than them, because that's how it fucking is. As a guy, it's not a lot different. Men attack each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a fucking week. Except now, instead of axes, we're just playing office politics. You get outside of your fucking little safety bubble, bitch, you're gonna get fucked up.
Yep.
And is that right? Fuck no.
No.
It's stupid. Should a country like the States, with some of the most wealth in the entire fucking world, touted as the greatest place on earth, have a situation where we gotta send kids to school because the families can't afford to buy fucking lunch, so they gotta rely on public school to get a meal for their kid? regardless of whether or not they thought about if they should have a kid, this is where we divert a little bit. If you're living in the United States of America and you have a child, regardless if you work at a McDonald's or a fucking Dollarama or you're a fucking bottle collector or whatever the fuck you're doing in the great chain of possibilities in the economic market, you should never have to think that you have to send your child to school at a public school to get enough of a meal at lunchtime because you can't afford to make it work at home. If you're talking about living in Zimbabwe or some shit, yeah, okay. Now we're talking a different fucking game. We're talking a place where the money isn't like that for pretty much anyone. There's like 4 people with money and everyone else is literally scrounging for whatever the fuck they can do in a place where you're still talking about getting an axe to the back of the head. But that's not America. That's not Canada. That's not most of Europe. It's not Asia for the most of it. The majority of the world at this point is economically so lifted that the discussion and the reason why it sounds socialist is because for a long time it would seem that way because the economy wasn't there. The last 100 years for the economy has been nuts. The amount of money getting pushed around right now is insane on a global scale because of globalization. And now you're talking about places struggling to figure out how they're going to respond to a pandemic and get parents back to the workforce so they can work at Starbucks so that we can make it look like the unemployment rate hasn't fucking tanked out for an election coming up next. All of this it sounds like tangential to what we're talking about, but it's all the reality of it. Because for these people, yes, absolutely, they should just be looking for work elsewhere. But but the reality is also that in a company that is worth in the video game industry, to my knowledge, more than any other, because of the merger that Bobby Kotick swung, and is why Bobby Kotick gets paid $40 million a year, likely whether or not he actually performs up to his standards that he was given by the board on a year-to-year basis, is because he created spearheaded the biggest merger in the video game fucking industry. That's now a titan of Activision Blizzard. Mostly Activision, but Activision Blizzard. But to have that company that's worth billions and billions of dollars with one game like Call of Duty that's pulling down 70 plus million people, dumping money into battle passes and shit, where the money machine goes brrrr, skrat, money. To have your employees, regardless of what fucking level they're at, and provide and tell people that it's fun to work there because, hey, you can bring your dog to work and we have a cafeteria where you can buy tuna fish fucking sandwiches, and your employees are talking about not being able to afford, ironically, the food at your own cafeteria on campus. That is, regardless of situation, wrong. And it flat out shouldn't happen, regardless of what kind of maximalist, capitalist fuckery that you want to talk about. It just shouldn't happen. But the reality is that it does happen. And it is happening. And it has happened. And it's going to continue to happen. And will it change inevitably? Yes, I believe it will. The more and more, as time goes on, the more socialist countries become because the money is so fucking available, and the average of what a company can provide or country can provide its citizens based on the wealth that the country generates goes up over time, so too does the dissemination of said money to the masses in a country that is full of less assholes. Countries already do this shit all over the place. You know what they found? We don't need a 40-hour fucking work week. People don't need to be working 90 hours a fucking week. They're more productive. They do better work. They do work more often. They enjoy their work. They pay more tax, but they don't give a fuck because their needs are met. That's the reality too. But over here, we're still fighting the fucking fight. And in Canada, we're not nearly as bad as the US. We're a damn sight better than the US. The US is literally, like I've said before, a third world country for the majority of its citizens. And we're seeing it right now. And it's a pandemic to show people within the US who weren't thinking that this is a third world country for the most of us, now they're seeing that it is. The stock market in places hit an all-time high the other day. If you want to get an idea of just how separated the wealthy are from the rest of the economy, it hit a fucking godforsaken all-time high on some of the indexes.
A lot of that is bailout money, man.
It doesn't matter because it's who the money is going to. It doesn't matter if it's just bailout money because the bailout money going to the people who already have money. Why are we bailing them out? They're not handing it to the people doing the work. So it doesn't matter if it's bailout money, that's just what it's doing. They're shifting wealth into people that already have money. Because they're the ones giving each other hand jobs at a political level within the corporate fucking plutocracy that is North American economics and politics. That's what it is. It's separated. And it's nuts that it's even something that happens at this point in time. But it's good that it happened because enough people weren't working that now they get a chance to stop working for 5 seconds to see what the government is doing and to see what the nature of their country is so that they can actually see it and want to participate in changing it. And it will fucking change. It's not going to be quick, but it will change now that people have had the time to look at it. And it will change at Blizzard too. This will absolutely, you will hear from Blizzard and they will fucking change this shit because they have to. And the only reason it hasn't happened before is because nobody in a culture where you're not supposed to talk about how much money you make at work, specifically and originally, so that the difference and discrepancy between the old boys club and the new people coming in or women in the workforce, so nobody knew what the fuck they were making. And everyone just assumed that it was pretty close. But that's not the reality of it. But now they can see this shit. And it will change for it anyway. But it's true that the reality is right now, you're operating it, and you know as a person that this is the reality of the world where you're living. You have to navigate it as such. It is so hard to not want to look at it, see the unfairness of the entire situation, and want to operate in your life as if it's going to change in time for you to access that change. It's unlikely to happen. You need to act now. You can't wait for it to happen. So find a new job. Apply somewhere else. You're more employable while you're employed. And like I said before, especially if you have Blizzard on your fucking resume, your thumbs the fuck up. So go and find another job somewhere else. Fuck Blizzard. Let somebody else take the $4.99 that they're getting paid to crank out fucking mobile games and everyone scream and yell at you every time you release a game and the entire fucking Twitterverse and Instagram and everyone else tells all the developers to kill themselves. Let that be somebody else. Take a job somewhere else and get your money. Have your fucking family. Do whatever you want. Would I want to bring a fucking child in the world right now? Fuck no. Maybe wait that one out a couple of years. Because right now it's a fucking crapshoot. And I don't mean just in terms of the economy. I mean literally, if you go to the hospital to have a child, you're putting yourself at risk. Just don't do it. But if you want to, then yeah, you might have to make a change. And that's just how it is. It's why 10 years ago, and I'll stick my neck out for this, I said get the fuck out of America. If you're under the age of 30, said 8 years ago, sorry, somebody brought this up in chat when they dug it up. 8 years ago, get the fuck out of that godforsaken country. Because it's going to collapse. It's inevitable. And it took a pandemic to speed this shit up a little bit, but goddamn if it isn't happening right now. Get the fuck out of that country. Yes, other places have problems. But right now, if you are disillusioned enough to think that the United States of America is suddenly going to fucking pull up like it's a 747 tanking for the fucking ground, in the last possible second, Captain Phillips is going to take the dick out of his pants and push the thing down and pull that fucking plane up at the last second and get it back into the sky just because Trump doesn't enter office at the end of this year, then you're hitting hopes. You're hitting some high fucking hopes. But this is just another example. So, is it right? No. Is it the reality? Yes. Do you have to fight with reality? I mean, you can choose not to, but you might end up in the loony bin. So, the reality is, it's shit. It shouldn't happen. It will change. Not right now. Get another job. Work for somebody else. Fuck Bobby Kotick. You never see him unless this is the kind of shit that they're talking about or he comes down to make some sort of crazy merger. And that's just it. But there you go. Jason Schreier, bringing the news in. Making the magic happen. Now for Bloomberg. And there's some irony there probably, but we'll figure the irony out another time.